In this video, is the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit thing going well here in Wales? We're going to analyse it with some actual data that has just been released and our own personal thoughts and feelings. So for those who don't know, on the 17th, I think it was, of September 2023, the default speed limit in Wales changed from 30 to 20. That is effectively your urban limit. It's where there is regular street lighting or little signposts to tell you. In the rest of the UK, it still is 30, but here in Wales, it changed to 20. So primarily affecting cities, but we live in rural Wales. We've seen plenty of limit changes as well. And thought we'd discuss a bit how it's gone, because there was certainly a lot of controversy and comments when we released our first video on the subject.
There definitely was, and there also was a lot of vigilantism, wasn't there, when it arrived? So how much was it they spent? Was it £30 million they've spent on re-signage or something along those lines? And particularly in our area, the signs were vandalised. We even had Mark
painted over, taken away
face on some of them.
which is stupid, because all that does is the council that then has to pay for the repairs. So you're just taking money out the pockets of your own council.
And they also quite openly said that there isn't the money to do it again. So currently we've got this new signage that's covered in graffiti and stickers.
I think it's all fairly clear at the moment.
I don't think so. I saw Mark Drakeford's face a couple of days ago.
Oh, yeah. But okay, there's a few. They're trying to get on top of it. I think that shows you that there's a lot of public anger about this change, and certainly the comments on our previous video reflected that, probably even more so because we weren't jumping on the anti-20-mile-an-hour bandwagon. We're trying to keep a fairly open mind on it. We don't want to side one way or the other. And
there are pros and cons, as we're going to discuss now. What about talking about some little fallacies that have kind of appeared since?
Oh, yeah. Well, let's clear up the first one. Is it 20 mile an hour everywhere?
No,
it isn't. And I think something like 8.7% of the previous 30 mile an hour limits are still 30. There's one in our village. They've extended the 20 slightly. Pre-existing 20, they existed before. They exist in parts of England as well, and Scotland, all over the place already. But there are still some 30 mile an hour sections.
Wales is hugely dependent on tourism. And people are talking about not coming anymore. Please do come.
Which is ridiculous. Are you also not going to go to London, to Brighton, to Oxfordshire? There's quite large swathes of Scotland.
But you can appreciate the countryside more slowly.
but you're not having to, because the rural speed limits are pretty much unaffected. I don't think that will stay the case. I think
we
50
have
miles
found
an hour
a few, haven't we? Well,
not 20s.
No, the 50s.
Yeah, the 50s are creeping in. One of those roads is the A44, Aberystwyth towards the east. That road has had a 50 mile an hour limit put on it, but that's because it was one of the unsafest roads in Wales.
Yeah, and also one of the roads we're going to discuss is the route between Llandersil going through Pentracourt, Cwmdiad, Cwnel and that way across to Carmarthen.
Very pretty route.
It's
we
beautiful.
Recommend it.
It's beautiful. Maximum speed is 50 miles an hour.
Yeah. Well, again, you can kind of see why there's barely a straight.
No,
you're turning constantly.
To be honest, you wouldn't be doing more than 50.
Yeah.
If you were driving safely. Anyway, we digress slightly. So they've released this report in January. It's in line with the fact that they're also going to start enforcing.
They have
fines,
started.
And they have started. In January was when the enforcement was going to start. So they wanted to look at the results. They looked at the initial results were looked at after a week, and then 3 months in, which was in preparation for this report. And they think that if there's they can't give specifics of accident rates yet.
Yeah, that data is not available yet.
They can't do that yet.
Yeah.
But looking at the numbers that they have, they do think that if there's a 3 mile per hour drop in speeds, that 32% of deaths will be prevented and 25% of serious injuries. Ooh. So that's incredible. That is incredible. When we demonstrated the stop between 20 and 30 miles an hour.
This is something else I want to address. People were criticising the fact that we did our stop test in the 2CV, which is quite an old car. It's got very good brakes, but it is an older car. And they also said, well, it doesn't matter because you're still going to stop in time. But the point wasn't so much to demonstrate that. It was to demonstrate the difference in potential energy. So you can see a very marked example of what it would be like to be hit by a car doing 20 miles an hour compared to 30. 30 is going to do a lot more damage than 20.
I mean, there was that terrifying advert when we were children about if you drive at 30 miles an hour, 1 in 10, there'll be 1 in 10 of the accidents will cause a death. And if you drive at 40 miles an hour, 9 in 10 people will be killed.
Yeah.
Well, if you can reduce that rate even more than that 1 in 10, that's incredible. And I think that's why it's worthwhile doing it.
Yeah. But anyway, you said that drop was based on 3 miles an hour. What has the drop been? You said 3 miles an hour would create all these differences. What did it
and the
get?
reason that I mentioned that is the fact that it dropped from 22.7 as an average speed to 19.8. So that's very nearly that 3%. So that's 32% less deaths potentially and 25% less serious injuries.
Potentially.
Potentially.
Yeah, it will be interesting. Once that data is out, it will be interesting to see whether it has made a difference. But we're only guessing until that point. But yeah, I mean, in a way, it's a bit shocking that dropping the speed limit by 10 miles an hour reduces the speed achieved by only 3 miles an hour. But it's worth pointing out that even in a 30 limit, a lot of the traffic is not actually averaging 30 miles an hour. No. It might be able to get up there, but then it'll be queuing and all that. So the reality of the change, I think in urban areas especially, is that you're not actually going much slower than you were anyway. It just feels it.
Yeah, because the results are taken from TomTom, who formulated these results. I think it's based on 7,000 and something miles of road, including areas like Merthyr Tydfil, Harford West, various other areas up in North Wales as well.
Yeah, Bangor.
All these TomTom journeys are being recorded anonymously, so these people aren't at any risk of partaking in the survey and then being punished. That's not happening. But they've observed these people, and they've seen that, as you say, they weren't driving at 30 in the first place. But there has been a marked difference, average 2.9 miles per hour, since the change has come in. So, and if they were driving at, say, 23 as an average, that takes them so close to 20 miles an hour, and that difference in the potential accident rate.
And another strange thing is GoSafe, the road safety partnership with the Welsh Government, I think, have said they're not going to enforce speed limit fines until 26 miles an hour. So normally it kind of be, 2 miles an hour? No, it's 5% plus 2 miles an hour, which would be quite close to 20 miles an hour in this case. So they've actually done it at plus 4 miles an hour. So go a little bit over 20, you're not going to get fined. But enforcement is now taking place. Enforcement was not taking place when they were recording this data. So maybe the data will change again now that they're actually enforcing it.
Yeah, because, I mean, this is the thing that everybody is aware of, is the fact that 20 miles an hour is the speed limit, but 26 miles per hour is where the enforcement's going to come in. 30 miles an hour was the historic speed limit. And 35 is where you're going to get criminal prosecution.
Yeah, you will be in court if you do 35 and a 20. And rightly so, frankly.
Absolutely. That's half. No, that's even more than half again, isn't it? Crikey.
And
that's nearly double the speed limit.
It's worth jumping out of the actual facts for a moment, just to talk about our own experiences. When the limit change first came in, everyone was observing it really, really well for like the first few weeks.
But it was almost religious because of that fallacy of everywhere is 20 miles an hour. There was quite a high percentage of people that were driving everywhere at 20 miles an hour.
Yeah, not national speed limit, but definitely where there was a 30 limit, they're like, all 30 is now 20. But no,
even the 40s
if a 30 limit said 30, you could do 30. So, there was some initial confusion. And it didn't take too long for anger to start building up, and we've certainly been victims of that ourselves, where we've been doing 20 miles an hour and people are right up your backside, or even worse, overtaking at ludicrous speeds. We've had vans doing that, and then ignoring the fact they're only meant to do 50 on a 60.
Yeah, I mean, the one that seems to happen quite a lot is if you're a 20 heading towards a 30 or a 40, people will see that moment as their time to overtake, which you wouldn't have done that previously.
No.
Please excuse the phone.
Is that Stephanie?
It is.
Go away, Stephanie. We're busy.
people wouldn't have seen that as an opportunity, and there seems to be a little bit more dangerous overtaking, I would say, risky overtaking.
I mean, it was a bit muddled in for us. The worst journey we did, you were driving, we went to Carmarthen, and we went along the route. You said the lovely, pretty route, and we were getting people right up our backsides. But coming the other way was even worse. There was one queue of cars, and the car at the back was just bah, 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 bah. The queue was doing 20 miles an hour. It was doing the speed limit, and people were absolutely losing it. But I think that was just pre-Christmas crazies, because the roads generally were utter bedlam.
I'm a learner driver.
Season of goodwill.
It wasn't. I'm a learner driver, and I'm going to observe the speed limit because it's forming good habits. And I actually pulled in at one point,
which is
because I was observing the speed limits along that road. It goes sort of 20, 30, 50, 20, big stretches of 20,
which is a problem in itself. We'll talk about that in a moment.
So I actually pulled over at one point because the drivers behind me were so aggressive, and it happened to be, because I thought, am I doing something wrong? Happened to be that when I pulled into the side is when that convoy came in the other direction with the person honking like I don't even know. Just horrendous. Horrendous.
So it's fair to say it hasn't gone down universally well.
No.
And especially at that time of year when everyone's angry and fraught anyway, it was not good times at all.
And we are seeing, they did mention the phenomenon of clustering with regards to the 20 miles an hour. You do tend to get you do tend to have to be within a convoy of traffic when you're in the 20 mile per hour zones.
And that's because one car will do 20, all the others are quite happy to go a little bit faster, so they all end up catching each other up, and then the whole lot, a huge group of cars is doing 20 miles an hour altogether.
There's more to it than that, and I can't exactly remember the science of it as to why they cluster at the lower speed. But again, that pushes people's patience because they feel like somebody's going too slow. So there has been aggression. But I've got to say, on the flip side, as a learner driver, being at 20 miles per hour, even though I spend a lot of my life in second gear, because little Shemmy, if you're not approaching at speed, she likes to do 20
on the flat,
in
she'll
second.
do it in third, but otherwise you got to
she likes to do it in second. It does mean that you can carry out better observations, you can react better to hazards. Everything is just moving a little slower. It does mean that you may have to be a little bit more patient at junctions, but it's actually better from the perspective of a learner driver. Aside from the aggression is
and it's worth pointing out, of course, we have a nasty habit of only looking at this from the point of view of car drivers who are all feeling like they're somehow grossly held up by all this. But as a pedestrian or a bike rider, I think there are benefits. I feel a bit safer walking on the road. And quite often in rural Wales, there are villages where there is no pathway, so you're walking in the road. And I feel safer with cars doing 20 mile an hour past me than I do when they're doing 30 or
absolutely, because when we go to places where the standard is 30, we're quite shaky because we're like,
it's a bit of a surprise.
It's so fast. When you try to cross the road, because we're getting used to anticipating 20 mile an hour cars, and then these cars come whizzing at you. Why are we saying whizzing for 30 miles an hour? It never was, but it is now.
But I think there is a problem generally that I don't think this has been thought through that well. Just going blanket, let's change the default. That involves so many roads. I think there are an awful lot of roads where 20 miles an hour is not appropriate, especially out here in rural parts where 30 is probably sensible because you've got lots of driveways. But we've got 20 mile an hour roads where there aren't many pedestrians at all, or there'll be a pavement on one side and there's nothing on the other side, so the pedestrians will be on the pavement. There is no reason for them to cross the road, so you think that surely reduces the risk as well. Why are we doing 20 when really there are no pedestrians?
But equally, there are times when they're not been properly thought through, perhaps. So for example, there's a village called Llanarth just up the road from us, and if you come into Llanarth from the Swnordin direction, it's a 60 mile an hour road, and then as you're descending a very steep hill you hit the 40, and then maybe not even 50 metres along is the 20, and you do struggle to get yourself to that 20, and also you wonder a little bit about what's coming behind you and what speed they're coming at. That should be, I think Llanarth, as an example, people at Llanarth are going to be like, what? But, maybe that should be further out to get you stretched out in your slowing down. It just seems very, very abrupt.
Yeah.
You go 60 to 40, 20.
There is a school, there is a difficult junction, so 20 is probably all right there.
It needs to be 20 through Llanarth. That isn't under discussion. It's how that entry into the village is handled.
Yeah, and there's some roads where it goes from a 60 to a 20 with very little warning.
Yeah, and there's still mixed messages. There's somewhere along the Cardigan Road where you've got a national speed limit applies, and literally 10 metres away, I can't remember if it's a 40 or a 30. And you think, well...
Make your mind up. Yeah. And like I say, they try and step you down sometimes, so that means you've then got 3 or 4 speed limit changes in a very short period of time.
That's where the bunching comes from. It's those... very quick slow downs is where the bunching comes, because anything that's coming behind you, say 60, is going to have to slow down, so you all bunch together. That's where the bunching is coming from.
The non-scenic route to Carmarthen has become a bit of a nightmare.
You can't call it the non-scenic route.
We go through Pencadder. Hi Pencadder.
Oh my god,
we're going to die.
We've definitely got
it's still very scenic, but it's not as scenic as the one that goes past Squealy Railway, let's face it.
Yes, there's trains.
That route, there's so many 20 sections that you just think there is no legitimate reason for this, really. But I will make the proviso, obviously, speed limits exist because car drivers are notoriously bad at driving at a sensible speed. That is why limits exist. They exist because they have to. Because if you just left it to people to make their own decisions, they would all go way too fast. There's people who think, oh, well, I can do 140 mile an hour on an empty motorway and it's perfectly safe. And you're like, well, it's only perfectly safe until something goes wrong. And that's what speed limits are about. It's trying to mitigate that. So, I do feel a bit bad arguing against the limit changes because obviously I'm a car driver. I just find it annoying. And I think I should be able to go faster. But that's why limits exist, because car drivers make bad choices.
So 3 months in, where are we? So we mentioned that they talked about it a week in. They did a sort of check on, I think it was the 23rd of September. And it was those 7,000 however many miles of road. They did the check. This is sort of their control group, and it's the same group they did 3 months later. So what did it look like after a week?
It was quite a big drop.
The changes were marked.
Yeah.
Marked
was
changes.
It 3.1?
Yeah.
Average speed drop. But like I say, everyone was, well, not everyone, a few people losing their absolute marbles about it. But most people were adhering to the speed limit very well. And then people started to creep up again.
Well, this is it.
Which is why
we look at 3 months later.
Not in Merthyr Tydfil. Merthyr Tydfil, fair play. You got the lowest drop on average, 1.8 miles an hour, I think. But exactly the same after a week as it was after 3 months. So you're consistent in Merthyr.
So after a week, everybody was, as we said, and we saw it, everybody was religiously following it. And then 3 months later, it's creeping back up again.
It is creeping back up. And one of the reasons was people were starting to realise there was no enforcement at that point. And if people know there is no enforcement, they will just drive as fast as they like. There is a 50 mile an hour section of the M4 near Swansea where nobody does 50 miles an hour because they know there aren't any cameras. They think they're going to get away with it. We've seen police vehicles on that stretch, so you better be careful that they are keeping an eye out. But if people think it's invalid, that they will break the law, and if they think they can get away with it. So it'd be interesting to see 6 months, if they do it again, to see whether enforcement has brought the average
back down again.
But it is a big concern. Don't they reckon that something like 52% of cars are travelling over the speed limit?
52.9% of cars are travelling over the speed limit. However,
now that could be 20.3, it could be up to 26.
The way
That's their
we
next
read
cut-off.
it is that the average was 20.3, which is speeding. It's not, it's awful. Speeding is black and white. Like 20 miles an hour is the speed limit. If you're doing 20.3, you are speeding. So 52.9 could be as low as 20.3 miles an hour. It's somewhere between 20.3 miles an hour and that, say, 25.9 before you hit that 26. And then it was 17.9% of...
Yeah, we're then 26 up to 35?
No, up to 30.
Up to 30.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are breaking the speed limit, and the lower level part of that will be because you can't just sit there staring at your speedometer, and I think that's why they're allowing a little bit extra than they normally would on a speed limit. You might well creep up to 25 without really realising. So that is definitely a thing, and I'm quite glad they've taken that into account. But yeah, a lot of people are ignoring this, and my worry is that people get used to breaking speed limits, will then start breaking other speed limits as well, because they're now getting in the habit of it. So slightly concerning.
Also, my concern is, as we've mentioned, you have those that adhere to the speed limits, the 20 miles an hour, and that is a slow speed. You have those who don't adhere, and it becomes dangerous.
Yeah.
It becomes
where
dangerous.
they're overtaking in a 20 zone, that is dangerous, because, yeah, they're not breaking the speed limit by a little bit. They are showing complete disregard for it.
As I say, if I'm dropping into Llanarth at 20, somebody comes up behind me at 60 because they haven't seen it or choose not to see it, we have a problem.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's been an interesting experiment. I'm still not sure I love driving at 20 miles an hour, but then car drivers are always going to feel offended by speed limits. I remember when I used to live in the east of England, having to slow down to 30 for villages where there didn't seem to be anything going on, and I found that frustrating. So anything that impedes your progress is going to feel like frustration. But yeah, on the plus side, you have to say as a pedestrian, it does feel better in those areas where you haven't got the traffic whizzing past. I will say, obviously, our experiences are mostly rural. We've been to Swansea once since the limit change, and actually the main route through the centre of Swansea is still 30 miles an hour. So off on the sides where there's more pedestrians, it's sensibly 20, but the main thoroughfare through the middle
a lot of
is still
Swansea
30.
is already pedestrianised.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think quite a lot of it was probably already 20 anyway. And that is another thing to bear in mind, but 20 limits aren't new. They've existed for quite a long time, and they're in place all around cities all around the UK. So this isn't a new thing.
No.
But yeah,
I don't think it's perfect. I think they need to look at more signage, particularly repeaters. They seem to have put the 20 at the beginning of a section, the 20 at the end of a section, huge sections with no repeaters.
That's because it's the default speed limit, so they legally don't have to put repeaters in.
If you're instilling a new speed limit, surely it's worth putting those repeaters in.
Yeah, it's probably not a bad, because you do get confused. You'll suddenly pull out on a road and you go, wait, is it 20 or 30
Exactly.
But it'll only be 30 if there are repeaters. So, yeah, still some getting used to, but it hasn't been the catastrophic end of the world. It's just that there are definitely some areas that they can and have been. I think some 20s have already changed back to 30s.
Really?
So some councils are looking into that sort of thing. I think that's mostly in North Wales. But,
I think they kind of had to go in with a blanket.
Yeah.
And then tweak as they go.
Yeah. So it would be nice if a few more 20s where there aren't pedestrians in great numbers are higher. But then, of course, I would say that I'm driving a car. Yeah. But anyway, that's our experiences with the first 3 months of 20 mile an hour in Wales. We're not moving out of Wales, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So not catastrophic, not end of the world. But yeah, let us know your comments. I don't know why I'm saying that. Of course you will. Certainly did last time we talked about this topic. But yeah, let us know your thoughts. And we'll see you in a future video. Farewell.
Bye.